Bitcoin bid liquidity is moving. Ask liquidity is moving too, for that matter. The question is, are we establishing a new range between local support and resistance? Hey guys, it's Keith Allen, and well, we've got some significant moves in the order book we need to check out here. So let's go ahead and see what this is all about. Let me just do a little bit of work here on the old stream, and hey, there you go. How's it going, guys? We have had some pretty interesting price action here this week, and it's just continuing to develop here in this range. The range hasn't really, in my opinion, been well established. I mean, even since we started, and we've been there for months, right? 59 to 73K. That was just huge. It was like just too broad, too wide. And so I never really considered that to be a well-defined range because of the depth of it, right? So now Bitcoin is trying to find its footing, trying to establish local support. We did have a dip at the monthly close down to about 56,500. But that really didn't satisfy me from a technical analysis perspective. I really was looking for something closer to 55. And I'll show you why here in a second, right? But as you can see, some movement in the order book right here. Let me actually share that screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's go over here and do the screen share on FireCharts. And FireCharts, for those who may be new to the stream, is a heat map of the order book, and combined with it is a binned CVD that shows the order flow down here. So first things first, right? What's happening with the liquidity? We've over the past month or so, we've really had a very wide range here. New all-time high up here above 70K, 73,800, something, in that zone. And we have not been able to touch it since then. Not only that, we've not been able to hold the 69K level. And then, of course, here most recently in the past 24 hours, we're seeing a block of bids come from this 50K range up to this level here, which is now at 58,000. That is important because this is where support has been here, 56 to 55K, right? And you can see the amount of bid liquidity that was stacked there that held support here just at the beginning of the month here. And well, it's faded, and it's faded considerably, and that should be a concern. So now what, right? Where do we go from here? Will this establish is the range now, is the local bottom 55, 56K, or is this going to help establish a new support level here? Well, it has to get tested before we can know for sure, but it's reasonable to think that the attempt here is, there's actually a couple different things going on here. Could be that they're just, don't have confidence that it's going to go down here and they want to front run 56K. Could also be that they are trying to just, bring in another level of support, hopefully lure in some more longs above them, luring in front runners, which would then build the support level here and help get over this. We have strong resistance, obviously, in the 65 to 66K range. And you see that has also faded a bit because it's been broken up. And so regardless of how it happens, whether it dumps on the market or it is broken up into smaller orders, as it dissipates, it becomes easier to penetrate. Same thing up here, right? Look at this just absolute mountain of resistance up here above 70, above the new all-time high, right? We're talking above 70K in the 72, 75K levels, right? This was just absolutely huge, right? 50 million here and another, 40 million or so here. And tens of millions in between. So this is well over 100 million here. So before we can even think about this, we of course have to be able to get into new ranges. Now, was playing around with the charts, trying to find some new patterns and see if anything looks interesting to me, and had to take it down to the 4 hour to find this falling wedge. If this is indeed a falling wedge, we might be seeing, an attempted breakout here. But my concern here remains these key moving averages here. On the 4 hour, it's the 21. And that 21 stays consistent as a theme for me in different time frames. Let's take it out to the daily and see where this has really important implications here. Look at this. We just lost it. I said yesterday, all these wicks below are signs of weakness. And if we cannot hold it, then I can expect to continue to range downward until something breaks, right? So is it going to hold down here? Is it going to hold here? Might it break through here and go to this 100-day moving average? As you know, the moving averages move within each day of time. This may end up dragging up higher. So we'll see how that plays out on the weekly time frame. Also, right, this 21 is the key level for me to watch in terms of support. If we were to lose this level up here, if we lose this level here, it's range by range for me. If we lose these prior levels and come down to this, then this is really critical because we have very little to support us below that. We have a bit of consolidation here, this 50 to 52K range, which would be the first natural retest, right? And we can see that confluence on FireCharts. I'll show you that in a second. And if you lose that, then we're down here by this 50-week moving average, which takes us into the low to mid 40s. All right, we had a good consolidation range here. I like this range. I'd be very happy to revisit it. But at the moment, there's not a lot of sentiment, at least not liquidity-based sentiment to do that. And let me show you what I mean by that. If we zoom out a bit on FireCharts, we can see that the brighter spots on the chart represent higher levels of liquidity. Okay, and there's very little, relatively speaking, below this 50K range, right? So it stands to reason if we were to lose all those levels that this 50 to 52K range would likely be the next area of support. And you can see that support is concentrated around 52K right now. But we also have more support at 55 and laddered up from there, 55 to 58K. We just saw that bid move up from down here up to here. Okay, so maybe we're insulating this 55, 56K range a bit, and that might help. But look at the large block of ask liquidity over here. This is a mountain, this is a hill, this is a mountain. But this actually, may have come down from up above. Whatever the case, there's a lot there. Let's see, 40 million, another 40 million, that's 82, 83 million, and another 20, there's 100 million right there. Easy. 100 million that needs to be cleared. Can it happen? Absolutely. Nothing is preventative. Nothing is preventative. It's just a matter of when bulls muster up the support to make that move. And it doesn't look like it's happening now. It looks like they are attempting to keep things in this range here, right? And maybe attract more liquidity into this range. And that would be very, very helpful, right? We now need to see more come in above this 58. We just saw this move from here to here, seeing more come into this range. Good that we have this, right? This is actually new support that came into this range here. This is very good. But there's not enough there. There's 16. There's another 17. We'll call it 32, 33 million or so. Another 16, you're upwards of 50, 60 million here. But that's not enough compared to what's above here. The brighter side tends to win the battle here. So whether this continues to rain down on price action or bulls muster enough to go after it, you can see brown mega whales here have been buying pretty handily here over the last really several days. Look at this, purple and brown, right? Purple whales, which really have been the most dominant class in terms of Bitcoin price over the years, they sold the top here, right? They sold the 65.5. And the brown whales have continued to buy that range. So we'll have to see how this continues to develop, but these are certainly important characteristics developing in the order book that are important to watch. Now, order book data and order flow data in itself do not paint a complete picture. You have to put this in context of other factors influencing the market. So let's take a look. I just want to turn off these notifications so they stop bugging me. Put on the do not disturb. Sorry, I meant to do that before. So something interesting, of course, is what's happening with the Bitcoin ETFs. And we now have 2 consecutive days of buying here. at the monthly close, there was a big sell off. Maybe that was a rebalancing. Maybe it was in tune to the fact, or maybe it was just the fact that things, we saw things breaking down. Sadly, for those ETF investors, they really can't. They're not nimble enough to be able to take advantage of the extreme swings in price because they're locked into uh, traditional finance trading hours, right? They're only able to trade when the market is open. Whereas those of us trading directly in crypto on crypto exchanges can trade Bitcoin 24/7, and we get to take advantage of those extreme prices. So I have to wonder, as I mentioned yesterday, if some of what we're seeing now in terms of this price action is especially what we saw over the weekend was designed to lure in some of those ETF investors and then punish them a bit, right? So our local range here at the moment, we have strong resistance overhead, 65, 66K, and that is coinciding beautifully with the 50-day moving average. We have support here, which we're battling for here at the green 21-day moving average, right? Let me bring it in a little tighter. We're above and below the line. The fact that we've lost it already today in the past 24 hours is a sign of weakness to me. But seeing that bid liquidity move back into place here, seeing this move up is a good sign. The fact that it's not right up here means that they're not just quite ready to go after that. They may not even have an intention of getting filled. What they're trying to do is show support here and try and dissuade the market from dumping. If they do dump, this is still possibility this gets filled. There's actually a question on the X feed. I posted this earlier and got some good comments from it. So let's take a look at those. We can maybe respond to some of those. And guys, if you have questions or comments, you can throw them in here in the stream, and I will do my best to address them as we move through this. Right. So what did we have here? I posted that move, and the post really kind of likened this move as in terms of I use the analogy of a military strategy where if you're putting this move in military terms, the support troops in the rear are advancing to reinforce support at 58K. If it holds, that's going to represent a significant push up from that 50 to 52K level, and even advance us from that 55 to 56K level. So we did get some interesting comments and response to that. So let's take a look at those and see if we can address any of the things that you might be thinking about. So we got quite the international audience, I have to say, and I'm really appreciative of all of you guys joining us here on the feeds and supporting us on social platforms and here on YouTube. Thanks, I really do appreciate that. We've got a big Korean audience, we have a big Turkish audience, we have a big Vietnamese audience, we have a big European audience, and of course a U.S. audience as well. So I will try and since I don't speak the language, I got to go to the translate mode, and he's just sharing with his audience that that looks like it's Czechoslovakian actually. He's talking about the liquidity above 64.9 and below 58K. Which one do we go through first? And my response is I think we range here, and we're going to range until something breaks. People wanted to really see things go up after the halving, and it just there's no straight lines. I say this all the time. So be prepared to range here for an extended period of time until something breaks. Seeing bid liquidity move around as we have is certainly helpful to the bullish cause. Anyways, let's see. We had I'm back in this guy's post. Let's move on to the next one. Trading is war. I use the military analogy because I think it explained what I was doing, and I did get some feedback that the people appreciated that. But I don't want to make light of war, right? We've got obviously some serious conflicts going around, and out of respect for those in harm's way, I would not say that trading is war. Yeah, you can lose your ass financially, but your life is not at risk here. If it is, you're doing it wrong. This is a great question. Could this be used to spoof and bring the price down, then be pulled? What are your thoughts and experience in the bigger orders being pulled? Well, anything can be used to spoof. It happens. It's the nature of the beast. But it typically happens. At least, I've been watching this order book data here in FireCharts for a very long time, for good 4 years or so, right? Even before we launched the company, I was watching this data, and so um, I would tell you that often when we see spoofs, we see patterns, right? We will see patterns of behavior out of the liquidity provider in that instance. Often it is a brand new block that shows up rather than one that moved. And often it is related to a series of behavior where we, over a period of days, weeks, or even months, will tap into the pattern of an entity that tends to do what I call liquidity herding, which is where they use blocks of liquidity outside the active trading zone to push price. Similarly to what you see here, this block outside of the resistance level actually served to apply additional pressure downward, just as this one applied pressure upward, and just as I think this one might be designed to do here as well. So at the moment, we're trapped in a pretty tight range. And I think that range could extend as wide as 55K, but this move right here might be trying to push it up to 58K, and that would be, to me, a better range. We often see Bitcoin trade in about a $5,000 range, and that seems manageable to me. When you start getting into $10,000 ranges, it's a bit all over the place and it's hard to pinpoint. And so at the moment, if it were to be 58 to 65, that's still a pretty solid range, but at least we're starting to tighten things up, below 10K. 55K to 65K, that's 10K range, still pretty wide one. Sure, that may be where things settle down. But I have a feeling things are going to tighten up a little bit, and we're going to see a more defined consolidation before we see that next leg, a bigger break in either direction. That's my opinion. You're entitled to yours. Okay. So just in terms of the big picture, yes, I'm watching this ETF flow. It's positive. I saw some headline earlier today that I think South Korea is now considering launching a Bitcoin spot ETF. And this means long-term demand, right? So the fact that these ETFs are launching, and I think the U.S. kind of cracked the seal on that. Regulators around the world were watching the U.S., waiting for it to happen here, and we're going to see other parts of the world, other jurisdictions do the same. We saw Hong Kong recently. Now we hear of some potential ETFs coming in other parts of Asia and Dubai. And so as each of these come in to the fold, that's going to mean more long-term demand for Bitcoin. And that is net positive for the long-term macro outlook for Bitcoin. In the near term, where do we go? Well, we're in this range, and I maintain that I think we're going to stay in this range until something breaks. I'm going to take it down here to the daily chart just to give you a little bit more of a micro view of what we can see happening today. And as you can see, the concentration of liquidity, the dominant side is currently on the ask side, right? And here's that block of bids we saw move up earlier today at 58K level. So will this establish the new range? Or better yet, are we going to see more bid liquidity come into this range above 58K, potentially even above 60K, to establish a new floor of local support? Time will tell. Got to be patient, got to manage your risk, and not rush it, right? Again, I think we're going to range here until something breaks. And right now, the resistance side, this is a mountain of resistance, over 100 million up here above 65K. And if we get through that, then we can talk about moving up into the 70K range. But remember, we struggled for so long with this 69K level, right? Failed to establish an RS flip there. And so now we haven't really established a strong retested level of support. We lost this 59K. And so now our new level of bottom, our local bottom at 56,500, hasn't been retested yet. So Again, the fact that we have liquidity moving up to that 58K level is good. But until we get a retest, we don't know what's going to hold. So be mindful of that. The key moving averages are very, very important to me, especially this 21. Really seems to be valid across a lot of different time frames. So keep an eye on that one, and manage your risk so you can stay in this game for the long haul. Looks like trend precognition's A1 algo, expecting more downtrend here. Doesn't mean that we dump, just means that we're not going after a new high, or even going to top yesterday's high, at least in this 24-hour period. So we'll see how things shape out from there. On the weekly time frame, we do have actually a positive uptrend swinging here after last week's dump down to 56.5. So that at the moment is valid. It's worth noting that we're also in a monthly downtrend. So all of these things can be true at the same time. We can be down on the monthly and up on the weekly. Consider the weekly as an intra-monthly. Consider the daily as an intra-weekly. It's really a matter of what time frames you like to trade and how you manage your risk. Simple as that, guys. Hope that helps you out. If you like the content, please do me a favor, smash all the buttons, help me grow the channel. I really appreciate the support you guys are showing me, and I love the comments. Keep them coming. You do your part, and I will do mine. All right, guys, I got a live stream coming up here in a little bit with the crew from Bancor, so that's always been a good conversation. Typically, it's me and Dr. Mark Richardson, Crypto Corio, of course, who's got an amazing narratives dashboard, and our awesome host, Jen. That's coming up in a little while. You will see some info. You'll see a reminder in the feed here, both on YouTube and on X, before we kick things off. Thanks again, guys. Have a great and fantastic day. Make it a profitable one, will you? Cheers.